Hey, we're at Droidcon. I am extremely excited. I have one of my Android heroes here, Jesse Wilson. Sorry, Jesse. Not making it awkward, but Jesse, like you and your work and everything you've done have really meant a lot to me. But before I get too like sappy and sentimental and kind of make everything awkward, Jesse, for those of you who haven't, for the people out there who happen to not know who you are, can you talk a little bit about yourself and your history in Android?
So in 2010 or something, a really close friend of mine at Google, Bob Lee, RIP, wonderful person. He's like, I'm leaving the ads team that we were working on together to go work on this project called like the Open Handset Alliance, right? And I was like, well, that's weird. We already have BlackBerries.
Yeah.
And so he went to that team, and then he's like, Jess, you got to come join this team. It's really fun. Mm-hmm. And so I joined the Android OS team. I think this would have been like 2009.
2009?
Yeah, something early before Android 1.1. So I joined Android really early, and we were just building like the Dalvik stuff. So if you were an Android developer in the very, very early days, mm-hmm. everything was crappy and broken, and we were working really hard to make it less so. Mm-hmm. And it was just like all the standard things in the platform were just really immature and rocky. And I joined this team, and we started working on it. So that's like very, very ancient history.
Yeah. Actually, if I could interrupt you. So so a friend of the show is Chet Haas, and he recently wrote his book, Androids.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to read this quote to you, because you told him that you joined Android team in 2009, well remembered, with Bob Lee, to work on the core libraries. And he quotes you as saying, you joined the Android team when, quote, Android did not seem like a responsible job decision. Does that sound about right?
Yes.
That's what you said.
Exactly right.
And so what I think is cool, and if I could just stop you for a second, is that, okay, so I know eventually you did leave and you're at Cash.app now / Block. I kind of want to stop you. Like, so you were there from the beginning, as you said.
Yeah.
It started off as like this, it sounded fun, but it was a little bit weird. Sounds like very bootstrappy, like things are a mess and you're here to clean it up. What's it been like for you to go from that weird project that Bob pulled you on to #1 mobile operating system in the world, stuff like this, what's that been like for you as the person who was kind of on the inside?
It's like the things that we were the mistakes that we made early on just hurt so much, right? Because it's like we like the Android team. One of my favorite statistics was like there was a time when there was like 100 people working on Android. And like, I don't know exactly the number, but it felt like there's like 1,000 people working on Chrome, and Android had a browser in it, right? And so we were shipping this operating system that's like a completely, standalone platform with a browser. And, we were a team at Google and they were a team at Google. And at the time, the Android team, would be the we in this case, we felt like we were underdogs. Yeah. And Android, I think throughout its entire existence, kind of feels like an underdog operating system. Here in the US, it is absolutely an underdog. Yeah. And so, what's Android faithful mean? It's like we believe in this underdog, and it's like when you say it's the most popular operating system in the world, I'm like, yeah, but is it?
Thank you for picking up on that, because just to interject my own personal history, that's why I kind of fell in love with my other co-hosts on the show, is that I had that feeling of being an underdog and loving the underdog, and just knowing that, okay, there are at least some people that believe in this and want to spend time and effort and passion on this. Mm-hmm. And it still feels like that today, doesn't it? Like, even
absolutely.
though.
Well, so one thing that's like really, really different is that despite the fact that like Google's stance on Android has really changed over time, right? It used to be like there was no program, and then there was the Nexus program, and now Pixel's just the product that they sell. Yeah. I work for a company that sells hardware to retailers that's based on a complete AOSP stack. Mm-hmm. We don't ship Play services. It's our own thing. Yeah. And it's like 100% in the spirit of the community, and it's just incredibly rad that like this thing is like the operating system that's owned by nobody, right? Or it's owned and maintained by Google, but the terms and conditions to ship your own thing are so free and open that we can just do really creative stuff with it.
And I think so. Again, like that is what I know as an engineer and as a person. I think really fell in love with the platform because and I think a lot of people in those early days talked like you spoke just now about it, and I love that because to kind of go away. So now you work on Cash.app, which is part of Square and Block, and I think something that I learned very early about you is kind of the participation and effort you put into community, both as an engineer and as a person. And I kind of just wanted to talk even about to you, and especially as you said, like especially right now, it really feels like Android is changing. We talk a lot on our show about Android's growing up, it's got a job, it's got a mortgage, got taxes, and it feels different because of all that. But hearing you talk, and whenever you talk about stuff, and even I think the way that you, especially with your organization, your team, approach it, it still feels bootstrappy. It's not bootstrappy, sorry. It feels like community driven. It feels like you want to keep things open. And I kind of want to ask you on your opinion, because so for the audience that don't know, like a lot of the things that I do as an average Android person, and a lot of people do, are bring in third-party libraries, this code that other people have written that they've contributed for free so that we all can use together. And I think we've had this theme in the interview about collaboration and community. And I mean, to be perfectly frank, I don't think you can write an Android app these days without pulling in some code that Jesse has written. And I kind of want to ask you maybe what your thoughts, your motivation, your philosophy, what is it that you find value in for yourself or for others on, that open source and that sense that what is that you're trying to maintain and build?
I think that like this is really tricky because like the perspective I hold it sort of like ideologically. Like maybe a really good example is we had this idea a long time ago. John Rodriguez did most of the work on a project called Paparazzi. And it was like screenshot testing, kind of a boring topic, but screenshot testing, it ends up like making us really happy when we have it. But it was like, it was missing in the platform. And there was sort of like two approaches. One is for us to say, hey, Google, give us something better. It's not fast enough. But it's like way, way more fun if we could just go build our own thing. And the sort of entrepreneurial thing at Square and now Block and Cash App is just like if there's a problem to solve, you can solve it. And so we've been building solutions to solve our problems. And when I say that our company has all these names, like Block and Square and Cash App, one thing that's really cool is that like the way we collaborate with each other in this big company is we just open source stuff, right? So we like open source Paparazzi from the Cash App team, and then the Square team, they don't like have an internal copy of it. They just take the same version that everybody gets. So
it's truly communal, and I know personally that you've been a wonderful advocate for OSS. Like I know friends who've talked to me and said, "Oh wow, Jesse was really cool. He really was supportive." Can you maybe kind of touch on, for a developer, maybe just an Android person coming up, what do you see as the value for the individual in a career, and also kind of maybe the communal value in continuing this like ideology of collaboration and putting it out there for free to share?
So I don't know if this answers your exact question, but like a thing that I think that I'm afraid of is like centralized power, right? And we see it with like the app stores are gatekeepers, and it's like that's scary. Why is Apple deciding which business models work and which ones don't? Like Nintendo emulators, now they're available. Probably the EU did that, right? With open source, it's like what is Android? Is it like a proprietary platform that Google owns, or is it something that the community owns? And I really believe that like the platform's better if the community owns it, and like the community can't just like take it. The way we own it in software is we work on it, we make it better. And so it's like, if we want to make like reading JSON better. It's like, let's go build an awesome JSON library, and then the whole platform gets better, and then the ownership becomes part of the community.
I like that. And I think that philosophy, and I think for me, I get nervous a little bit these days, especially with Android, because I love it so much. I've built a community and a life around it, and it feels sometimes that feeling is slipping away.
Yeah.
But I like your kind of more proactive, like, no.
I mean, like, this is an example, right? It's like, this is not the Google DevRel podcast, right? You're not like a PR arm for Google, and we can criticize them. And like in the short term, that's probably annoying to Google. And in the long term, it's very healthy, because if we say like, hey, Google, your whatever policies are harming the platform, they get that feedback in a way that's constructive.
Yeah. So we got to just keep pushing for what we want and what we believe in.
Absolutely.
And like kind of build it, make, like, as you said with paparazzi, we want a screenshot test and we wanted this, we want a good platform. Yeah. We should make it. So, I could talk to you forever, but I do think that, it's been a long time that I know you've been working on Android, and we all been working on Android, and you're still continuing to, I think, like, do, frankly speaking, really cool shit. I can say that, right? I have one S-bomb. I wanted to ask you about, it's 2024. What is your current, passion project or passion technological problem that you're solving in Android or in mobile in general?
So, a thing that is really frustrating as a mobile developer is that we just don't have the same underlying velocity as web developers, and it's frustrating because you're like, the web, it's a platform that makes a ton of compromises, but then in exchange for those compromises, you get a bunch of really nice things. And one of the really nice things I love about the web is that everybody's on the exact same version of NewYorkTimes.com, right? So you go to NewYorkTimes.com, and if they say we're going to add a feature to Wordle today, everybody gets it. If you're on mobile, you have to download the app update, which means that like maybe 90% of your customers get it, but maybe 10% of your customers are on old phones and they're timed out and they're not going to get it ever.
Yeah.
And then the thing that's weird and really frustrating is that the corresponding backend developers have this real complexity of supporting lots and lots of different versions of different clients.
Yeah.
And when we're trying to move fast at Cash.app, this is one of the most difficult things we face, is just like, how do we take this application that's 10 years old and start to make it introduce new problems to solve, do new things with it. And the thing that really hurts us is just like our mobile APIs are sort of fundamentally baked on code we wrote a decade ago.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really interesting frontier for mobile, is like, get past the install it and it's stuck on your device cycle and work more like the web, where the version of the code on your phone is ephemeral, and every time you launch the app, you're getting the latest code. Like, this was infeasible in the era of edge networking and 3G.
Yeah.
And today it's like, download a megabyte. That's nothing.
Yeah. So that's interesting, and you're not even talking about, say, like replacing. I guess naively, one could worry that, oh, you mean like so that all native apps will be more like webby, but you're kind of more just thinking, no, changing mobile apps that they are now to be more, as you said, dynamic and just be really interesting. It sounds like a really hard problem.
Yes.
I guess in general, like, is that where you see us going? Is like kind of we all kind of like have this more dynamic, more alive, more maintainable kind of like. Is that where you hope we're going?
So I don't know if this is like a thing that works for every single application, every single space, but I think that the way that mobile works today, with like, again, App Store driven updates and updates that are pinned to your device, is much closer to the model of shrink wrap software from the 1990s, where you like install a CD-ROM.
Yeah.
The App Store's like, we'll install that CD-ROM for you and we'll automate it and make it really fast.
Yeah.
But it's still fundamentally like the update process is like decoupled from when I launch it and when I use it. And so we're building technology to make it so that happens dynamically, but we're not doing it where we're like replacing the application with a web view. We're saying like, where are unique components where being able to do like aggressive updates makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So it's complicated, it's hard, and we have to figure out where those boundaries go and what's like the most useful place to introduce that type of dynamic behavior.
Well, I like it though. You're seeing a situation you don't like and you're trying to fix it,
Exactly.
which is just engineering in general. But
Yeah.
I know from observing what you've been doing for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jesse, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Like seriously, if you are Android faithful, legitimately, Jesse Wilson, you have a lot. Sorry, English. Thank him for some things, which is just great, which is why I'm being a total awkward fangirl right now. Jesse, thank you so much. If people wanted to find you and your work or anything you're writing up about, where can they find it?
I blog at publicobject.com.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you so much, Jesse. It was a pleasure.